Welcome to Art Crush, where we talk about being an artist in 2026, what it means to be a woman who's an artist, and more. Today, we have the members of the 51% with us, and we're going to be doing a check-in as we build our way to the show. So the 51% is an artist collective consisting of myself, Paula Telizyn, Fee Marks in Britain, Susan Gardner, also in Britain, and Jela Prancic in Toronto. So we are planning our show for the end of October. We did have to bump our show up from May for lots of reasons. And this has given us a chance to really stretch out the planning and making sure we can handle all the details. So I want to start with Fee, since she's in Art Crush every week. Where are you at in terms of your planning for the show?
I think really it's about the thing that makes it different from doing a solo show, which is basically when you focusing on getting a body of work together. And I'm sure lots of the listeners have done this themselves, thought about the marketing. When you're doing a show with a group, it's slightly different. And there might be people out there thinking of doing a show with a group of artists that they know or a group of artists they share studios with. And so, although I feel like confident in getting the body of work together, because as you know, Paula, I don't have a problem with artist block. I don't worry about not having enough material. It will be what it'll be. I'll be like, I've got all this, but it will be the most recent stuff. So, although I'd like to say, yeah, well, all my work on how the creative arts support women in their rediscovery of self, that will be there, and there will probably be other stuff. I think what it is, the challenge that we're facing, particularly being artists from different countries, is making sure that we are ticking the other boxes, that we are getting the cohesion of the show together, that we have a similar image. It's not just about me and my art, it's about what the 51% say, and also what we say on Art Crush. We want it to reflect who we are, where we are on the marketplace, and where we are in the art world. So we have a lot of discussion going on about what we see as the vision for the show. I've just been doing this with another group of artists for a show in July, is when you're just trying to think of a name that everybody likes, takes ages, takes forever. So although we did that way back in January, I think it was, it takes time, and I think everything when you're working as a group for a group show takes more time because you need to be aware of each other and that the theme, although we're very different artists, we're not trying to be the same, but our theme is the same. And that's why, and I don't think any of us have actually started this yet, we are all going to do one piece which is unique to this show, and we will do it for every show we then go on to do. So this one, we are all in our own way going to explore the theme of the wild within. So those four pieces will be brand new to the show. So I can say that now. We're in June. Yeah, I can categorically say in October there will be four pieces of the wild within from us, which will show very different perspectives, but will also unite us as a group of artists. I don't think I've answered your question, Paula, but I think I've rambled on a bit more about what makes it different from just doing a solo exhibition.
So this will be the third international show that I've been a part of and also run. So for me, the whole aspect of putting together a show with a group of artists is familiar. So this is not my first rodeo, but it is a challenge when you can't be there to pick venues and talk with the venue owner or anything else. There's this trust that you have to create. So Fee and Susan have been on the ground in the UK, mainly Fee because she has a direct connection with the gallery that we're going to be showing at. But there is that delegation that's required when it comes to doing a group show. And as Fee said, a lot of communication is required. So with Yella and Susan and Fee, we meet every Tuesday morning in Canadian time, afternoon in British time, to talk about where we're at, what we're doing, how we're going to move ourselves forward. We've been working hard on the 51% website, on the social media, which as of this week is now a week old.
And we've got well over 100 followers on
Yeah.
there.
Exactly. So we're building up the following, we're building up the momentum around it. So I want to go over to Yella and talk about where you're at with the show, how you're feeling about working in the group, anything that comes to mind around our Wild Within show.
Oh, I mean, this has been by far the best collective that I've been part of because we do have our weekly calls and we're obviously very different artists and we have different backgrounds, but we have the same fire in each of us that helps us to be creative, helps us to have a sense of humor and extremely productive and thoughtful and caring. Like we're not pretentious as a whole, and individually, none of us are pretentious. So that has great appeal to me is that our art comes from the heart and it has a brain too. We're strong, powerful women who really have a lot of expertise and a lot of knowledge and a lot of opinions about the world and what our rights are and what we need to stand for, and that comes through our art, whether we're showing it through humans, animals, objects. We put that in there because we want people to question and challenge how how much of an imbalance there is in society and around the world. So the 51%, the name itself means a lot to me and to all of us because women are the majority and yet we're always pushed down or pushed aside, and in the art world we tend to have to fight those stigmas all the time.
Absolutely. Stepping up and defining our show and how we're going to show, because it's not just going to be a bunch of paintings on the wall. We're actually encouraging audience immersion and interaction and engagement in ways that we're still exploring. So part of our meetings every week, just to get ideas together and then work on the process. Susan, you're the wildlife painter in the group. You do these beautiful, incredible animal portraits. Where are you at when it comes to the show? How are you feeling? Any thoughts around the show or getting ready or actually meeting some of us for the first time in person?
That'll be the thing. That's what I'm looking forward to. No, I am looking forward to what we do, what we can manage to achieve. So I'm very interested in finding out what we can do, what we can achieve together as a collective. It's my first time being in a collective, but I feel very super confident in it already. The only thing, I'm well, it's not even a downside. My paintings that I'll be bringing, my body of work, are probably going to be different to the ones that I was initially intending. Because we've been working all the way through this year and all the talks that we have weekly and talking about our art and our process and our reason behind doing it. And mine has evolved quite a lot, actually, quite significant. Certainly, the mindset behind what I'm painting, why I'm painting it, and who it's for, changed quite a lot in the last couple of months. I've noticed, not on purpose, it just has. So I am painting another extra, probably 8 to 10 paintings before, well, hopefully before the end of September, so everything's ready. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, I'm just very looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do. Creatively, I think it's going to look, not the paintings, the actual structure of the show itself. I think that's going to look, well, it's going to be amazing. We don't know how it's going to look yet, but I feel like it's going to be really something else. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing as well as you two ladies.
Oh, Nikki.
I'm I've
Met you, Fee.
already met you.
So one of the things that we are coming together today, so by the time everybody hears this podcast, this will be probably 2 to 3 weeks past today. One of the things we are coming together today to talk about in our collective is what the look and feel of the show will be like. So Yella and I have been going through lighting and ideas of the use of shadow and space and all of that already. But in terms of the design of our show posters, the feeling we want people to come away from. We are going to have some projections projected onto the floor. We have some LCD screens or LED screens. I always mix that up. We have some screens as well that we're going to be doing animations for. So one of the things that we need to accomplish today is to go through design styles and make sure that we find a compromise that works for the show, but also works for ourselves each individually, because you can't promote anything if you are embarrassed about it or you don't agree with it or you feel like it's falling short of your vision or whatever. So part of the job of us as a group is to find agreement. And I think for the most part, we've been doing a really, really good job for all of it. We've been doing a good job in coming to an agreement and feeling good about our logos, the website, and everything else that we've been doing. So this has been a really good exercise. And I think a lot of collectives fall apart when people get steamrolled and they don't feel like they're heard. So it's really important for us as a group to agree on things. So that's one of the things that we're dealing with. We found the space. Fee found the space and recommended it to us months ago. It ended up being a great choice for us. And so there's various things that you have to think about when you're doing a show. So space, theme, look and feel, timing of the show, what's gonna happen at the opening and closing. Are there gonna be artist talks? How are you gonna get press and media involved? So PR. How are you gonna grow your audience and get them interested? Because you gotta get people out of their houses to show up if they're local to the area.
Yeah.
How are you going to ensure that there's excitement around the show? Or as I like to call it, how are you gonna big up the show and make it feel really special and wonderful? Because of course it is. It's an international show with 4 women artists who are experienced, professional, and produce wildly different works. And then in addition to all of that, we still each individually have to build our bodies of work, which we're all doing, and all the write-ups that go with it and all the promotion around that. So there's this double factor of show stuff and body of work stuff. Fee, how are you feeling about that balance of show versus your body of work versus getting ready on social media?
Well, I was going to say the one thing that I think has been vital is making these Tuesday meetings sacrosanct. I have been quite clear, and I think everybody else has, that I don't take on any other work on a Tuesday evening or afternoon because this is sacrosanct. It's making it a priority. This is not an also ran. This is a priority. And I think going back to what you were saying about the booking a space, which is the first thing really you need to do once you've found a group of people that you want to work with, that can be tricky right from the get-go, because a lot of galleries, a lot of spaces are booked up for the whole year, if not into the next year. So you need to almost like do that before you even know what the show's going to look like. While you were just talking, Paula, I was thinking one of the reasons that we want to almost like reinvent how art is seen is not only through our conversations with the 51% and on Art Crush, because how the art world is not working for the majority of people. And I think I sent you an article about it this week, that it's only a very small number of artists that the art world is actually working for at the moment. It's a very, very, very small percentage, and there are many, many artists who it's not working for. And we are being brave and going, right, so instead of sitting there and worrying about it, we are going to not only within our work, we have a voice, but we want that voice heard in a different way and also by more people. So I think this show is actually a sort of natural progression, shall I say, from my work that I do about telling women's stories, talking about that, talking about women from history. The next progression, because I have had many a knockback from a gallery in the past, just because it's like, oh, this is no, we only take lands, and I've mentioned before on this podcast, no, we don't take figurative art. Oh, okay, then. Any reason for that? Oh, no, because that's what our clients don't, it's got to be different. I am not prepared to put my hands up and go, okay, my art is not worth seeing. My stories are not worth telling. Women's stories are not worth telling. I am not prepared to do that. And I will be doing that till my dying day. And this is an extension of this. And we are really hoping that through what we're doing and through the podcast, we are going to change the lives of many artists. And I hope I'm not sort of bigging it up too much, because that is what our brief is. We want other women, other female artists, other artists to listen and go, hey, that's a really good idea. That might work for me. Or actually, that wouldn't work for me, but I'm going to think about what could work for me and make it happen.
One of the things that I've discovered as I've talked to a lot of artists and people in general is it didn't occur to them that you could make your own show. Like, there's this idea that you have to go with a gallery, a curator, have somebody else make decisions, decide if you're good enough, make decisions around the show and marketing, and then you just show up and hopefully make them money, right? There's this sense that I didn't know that we could actually book a space and make our show. Isn't it too hard? Isn't it too big? No, it's not. It's just decide to do it and then start figuring out what pieces you need.
Also, it's logical. I have only sold my art through my marketing, not through anybody else's. Whenever I have taken a piece of work and left it with a gallery, or I've left it for a show and it's not an in-person show, the more I've guarantee it doesn't sell, because there's nobody there promoting my art in the way that I do, that I can explain and tell the stories and make people understand. And I don't think it's because it's more complicated. There are a whole plethora of reasons for that. I think if you got my newsletter this week when I talked about visual literacy, is that people aren't taught to look at images and what to get out of it. But yes, so it just makes sense. It's logical to go, okay, right, you sell your work, you get your message across when you do it your way.
Yeah,
So what's the natural progression?
exactly. Susan, have you been involved in a show like this or in a collective of any kind, or is this kind of a new thing for you?
I haven't been involved in a collective. I feel like I have been involved in. I'm
Well, I suppose when we did Derbyshire Open Arts, I know that was in a smaller way, but that was a collective of people getting together to put on a show.
Yes, we did curate our own show. We were given the gallery for a few days, weren't we? So we were able to, and that was absolutely great. Really enjoyed working with those artists as well. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like a temporary collective, wasn't it? And each year there was a different selection of artists there, and we all managed to happily curate. What we did was, what you tend to find is that those types of shows, or those types of art trail it was, and when you've got a gallery for temporary hire or something like that, and a group of artists, that you each have a little sort of stall area or a little area that's your bit, and you kind of stand over your own work, and people walk traipse around and just look at each one in turn. Yeah, you're right, Fee, actually, because we didn't want to do that. We put all our work together in the gallery at the beginning, a couple of days before the event, and everybody walked around. We all had a good look at it and put the pieces together, which ones would work where. And although there wasn't a specific theme to the show like we're having, it was similar. Yeah, it was similar, and it was very, very good, and it did look brilliant, actually. Each year was different, and they always looked very, very good, and I think a lot better than if you just have a little corner for artists.
It looked more coherent. Susan and I had talked because we did that together. We learnt so much from that, which I think we're now bringing into this show because of having that experience of curating an exhibition with a group of artists. It was quite invaluable because you're like, okay, well, I'm not sure that worked so well, so maybe we won't do that, but this worked really well. So let's learn from. I mean, and as we know, we're always learning, and having that experience was vital, I think.
Yeah. Yella has, I know with your background, you've had experience working at a pretty significant art gallery in the past and with curators, and you've been in collectives. How are you finding doing this versus your experience or anything you care to share?
I think that it's a relief that in our collective, we all have a voice. We all see one another. We hear what we have to say. And even at times where we may not agree on something, we talk through it. At one point, the show was going to be named, what was it? It was a booby show. And I was like, no,
Yella.
I'm like, I can't do that, like this. I think I have maybe one slightly racy art piece, and then I thought, well, yeah, that's gonna be great. People will think it's a striptease show. But anyways, no, what I mean, we use our humor and we do take ourselves seriously, and I appreciate that we respect one another and nobody is like taking charge or treating others as underlings. And there's not this hierarchy where we're going in with like, okay, so we know that this one artist is going to attract like thousands of people and they're going to have tons of sales. And it's just going to be such a privilege that I get to be showing my art alongside an artist of some kind of prestige. That's kind of been the worst experience of some collective art shows and group shows is that the other artists are treated as fillers, you know?
Yeah.
This collective and our approach brings me back to the time of being in high school and working at a art gallery in my hometown, our hometown, Paula, and having a curator who was very much a humanist. He was an abstract artist and Japanese Canadian LGBTQ, and Bryce Canberra is his name, and everyone was treated equally and fairly. And this is the first time that I feel like we carry that same energy, those same values, and it's encouraged so much more productivity. There's no resentment to do work. Everything is just a pleasure to do. And that excites me beyond belief is that I know that when we group together in person and arrive with all of our art and look at this vast space, we'll just naturally and organically find a way to complement each other and choose together how to design the show where it won't be about putting one person in the spotlight and who cares about the other three. Like, we will find a way to create the best experience for our audience and for ourselves and our art. And I have total confidence with that, and I look forward to it.
We don't have, be it as women or be it as just the people we are, it's not ego led because we are very aware it's about the people who attend the show. So once you decide it's not about the artists, it's about the viewer, just like you do when you are thinking of selling your work, then suddenly you are all singing from the same hymn sheet because you want the best experience for the people visiting the show. And so therefore it's not about us. I mean, yes, our work is there, but our work is to be seen and bought and enjoyed. We are all very much like want to see what each of us produce. We're just as excited about the work that other people are producing because that ego is not our collective is not ego-led. I would say that's probably the key difference. So it's not about, oh yeah, these are the supporting artists, this person's had more success. And you do see it. I mean, you see it here in the UK, people who've been on, it's just that they've been on the telly. They've been on a competition on the telly. And suddenly they are higher status for being on the television. Well, when was the television really invented? Sort of like 1930s, we've got used to that. We need to get used to media. I'd like to think, because of all the stuff that we are thankful for, if it's used correctly, through social media, through things like TikTok, through things like YouTube, we can all be on our own shows. So that is not making somebody better than somebody else. I would never go on those programs. I wouldn't even attempt, because I know I couldn't get the work done in the time. I'm not about working quickly. That is not what I'm about. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, produce a great piece of work in a short time. Paula would be amazing. But for me, no, not so much. But yes, but I think that's the thing, is that when you're looking at putting on a group show, is no egos allowed.
Yeah, rock stars and all of that, celebrity type personalities are not, they end up disrupting.
Celebrities.
We are, well, because the thing is, we're at similar points in our careers in terms of the quality of our work, in terms of our experience with shows and selling and everything else, and the stories in our art, the reasons we create our works, even though they're all very, very different. We come together and we make each other better. So I'm going to roll back a little bit to what Yella was saying about how even when we disagree, we come up with something better. So I am going to reveal the suggested title for our show that was shot down appropriately and absolutely definitely needed to be. But Susan and I are a little bit ridiculous when it comes to being the group clowns, let's put it that way. And so we came up with Beasts, Babes, and Boobies, with the boobies being the birds, to cover the range of works that we do, because Fee and I both paint women. Yella does mixed media with women and with all sorts of interesting gods and creatures and whatever. And of course, Susan paints the wildlife. So that was where the boobies came from. But the thing was that it was, as much as Susan and I love the title, it would immediately change the theme and the reception of the show. Because if we don't take ourselves seriously, if we don't present ourselves as a force to be reckoned with, we won't get the results we want. And we want other artists, but specifically artists who are women or who identify as female, to be inspired, to step up. Artists who are marginalized, who maybe didn't realize that there are other options. This is what we want. And so when we came together and sat with the title for about 5 minutes before Yella and Fee went, no, no. It gave us a good laugh, but that was part of our big compromise, is just understanding what is the purpose of the show? What do we want to achieve? Aside from art sales, that's a given. We're there to sell art, but we are also trying to create an experience. We are trying to inspire, and we are trying to make changes in the art world and in artists themselves. So this is where creating something bigger than yourself is really important, because if I hadn't had that pushback, and I'm sure the same for Susan, we would have run with that title, and it would not have allowed us to achieve what we wanted to achieve. So I'm going to wrap this up, because we don't like to make our podcast episodes very long, and just ask each of our members of the 51% perhaps for some final words as we then shut this podcast down and move on to our discussion on what this show is going to look and feel like. So let's go in a different order. Let's start with Yella. Any last words in this podcast before we end the episode?
We have our work cut out for ourselves and together to come up with interactive and an immersive experience to the show that is going to be very innovative and eclectic, and it'll be an interesting experience for each of us to sort of highlight what visuals are relevant to the experience and how we can capture that. So I hope we come up with something enticing together.
We will.
We will, absolutely. Susan.
I'd quite like to hear from some other people that are doing collectives as well. And basically, just a message to say to people, if you are thinking about doing it or you wish you could be in a collective, put one together. I'd love to hear about some of the other people that are doing that, or if they're not, when they do, get in touch and let us know how you're getting on. We can talk and collaborate with other collectives as well, which will be nice, which will be useful, I think. So that would be my takeaway, would be we need more
We need
collectives.
more. Yeah. So we can be greater than the sum of our parts. So yes.
Yeah.
And fee.
Yeah, absolutely. I will just reiterate that we are encouraging our listeners and people to think differently, to act differently, and to understand that we need to break down those barriers between what has been traditionally viewed as your art journey or how to be a success in the art world, what success looks like. And we want you to join us. We are not, again, as I said, no egos. We want more people, more and more people to be inspired to go in their own direction. And I'm just going to say, right, Paula, we haven't really heard a lot about your contribution. You've been far too much anchoring this debate. So could you tell us where you're up to? Because we talked, I think it was in the last podcast, about the resistance that you've had to returning. Because I don't know if the listeners don't know, for Paula, she was a very successful artist. And then she went in a different direction and went down the mentoring route because, for many reasons, one of them being she had an accident, which meant she couldn't paint anymore. So she went and she found that she loved mentoring and teaching about the art business. And through the 51%, she has had to get herself into a position where she's got to act and behave like an artist again. So, Paula, tell us a bit about your journey.
Well, we were going to wrap up this episode. My journey has been really interesting because I have put down mentoring for the moment and focused on creating the body of work that goes with the show, but also I am focused on making sure that everything I've learned from my previous shows gets applied to this one. We want to create success, whatever that looks like, right out of the gate. We don't want to be the Willy Wonka in Scotland show kind of thing. We are here to create proper success. And I'm excited to share my work with a whole new audience because, yes, as Fee said, I had a very successful career and it will be good to get back out there. But anyway, as we wrap up this episode, I'd say we're in a really good place with the 51%. We're in a really good place where we are at June 9th is the recording. It's where we are at for the planning and for getting all the pieces together. And over the summer, we will be pulling up all the moving parts, finalizing things like the animations and projections, framing and everything else. And by the end of August, a good chunk of the work and decisions and pieces will be made and ready to go so that we can focus then on really hyping it up. So check out our website at the 51%, all words, no dashes.com. You can find the event for The Wild Within under the events tab. And you can see that our opening date is October 23rd, 2026. If you are in Derby or anywhere in the UK and you can get to the West Midlands, I think it's called.
East.
Right. If you can get to the East Midlands, come and join us. There is no charge to join and experience our show. And it will be running for 7 days at the Art Core Gallery in Derby. And we will have more information on our website and in our individual mailing list. So make sure you sign up on our websites to join our mailing list. The links will be in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe and like Art Crush. New episodes come out every Saturday. You can find us on Amazon, Spotify, Audible, Apple Podcasts, and wherever your favorite podcast episodes are. Make sure you share our episodes with artists in your life. You never know who you might be inspiring or even helping to keep going. And we will catch you in the next episode. Thank you, everyone.